Thanks, everyone. And thank you, Guy, for giving me this opportunity to try and follow up what has been just a great 2 days of speakers and sessions. Hopefully, I've got something different to share with you all. So basically, a little bit about me. I'm, this guy said, Brian. I've been with Totango for a few years now at Trustpilot, but I've been in the customer success space going on almost 7 or 8 years now, so since it kind of started probably. So I got out of college and decided to join customer success, and have been enjoying it ever since. So let's get started a little bit about who Trustpilot is and what our story looks like. So Trustpilot, we are a reviews platform. You want hotels, you go to TripAdvisor. You want restaurants, you go to Yelp. You want anything else in the world, you come to Trustpilot. 300,000 companies are on our platform. We're global. But our belief is that we're going to have people help shape the world. Consumers want to give feedback. Companies want that feedback. And that beautiful virtuous circle of feedback is how both companies can create ever-improving experiences for their consumers, and consumers can find ever-improving experiences from companies. So we believe when people collaborate, it's better. We're very much about transparency. And at the end of the day, we want people to feel good. And people want to feel good. So again, like kind of what I just said, consumers and companies coming together, we sit in the middle of that, and it's very important to us that we have this viral effect. The more companies that are reviewed, the more consumers that are leaving reviews, the better off everyone is. So you can maybe call it the network effect a few years ago. Because of social now, we call it the viral effect. Some stats here. We are one of the top 1% websites visited globally. Something like Alexa rank, I don't know if people know that, but it's literally a list of websites. YouTube was number 1, Facebook's number 2, Google's number 3. My mother's website is number 5 billion something. So we're like top 700 in the US, or top 30 in the UK, which is pretty staggering. Almost 4 billion brand impressions a month, people seeing Trustpilot logos on websites and search results and things like that. 70 million reviews on our platform, growing at an exponential rate of about 2 million a month. That was like 1 million a month last year to the double part. I'll get in a little more of that later. Is everyone familiar with the triple, double concept? Okay, so so we're a SaaS company, and the premise is that when you start out, once you get to $2 million in recurring revenue, you want to triple that twice, right? So that gets you to 6 million. Then that gets you to 18 million. Well, it's hard to kind of keep tripling that, right? So then you deal with the reality of life, and you slow it down a little bit, and you just double it. Okay, it's not so hard. You double that 18, it becomes 36. You double it again, that becomes 74. And you double it a final time, and you're up to that 150 range, $150 million in recurring revenue. And that's that sweet spot where companies go public or can start thinking about going public. At 150 million in revenue, you're looking at a valuation of roughly $1 billion to $2 billion. That's what the street wants to see. That's what investors want to see. That's what your board wants to see. That's what I want to see. That's what my employees want to see. What? Your mother as well. My mother, yeah. She definitely wants to see it. Yeah. So basically, that's it. And as we continue to grow, we're delivering more and more value with every individual review that a company or a consumer leaves about a company. So our growth trajectory, this is just the retention side of it. But about 3 years ago, we were at about 72% retention rate. This is net retention. And now we're at 95 plus. I wish I could tell you exactly what it is, but when you start becoming pre-IPO, they start telling you not to give certain numbers out. So I can tell you it's more than 95%, but I can't tell you what. And this is really where this is. And if you think about it from a financial perspective, right? It's not just having a higher retention rate that's important, but you're applying that to a larger base. So every point becomes more and more important as your base recurring revenue grows. So it's great when you have a 70% retention rate against $1 million base, but imagine a 90% retention rate against a $10 million base. That is significantly more recurring revenue. And we'll get to this towards the end, but also start thinking about the impact of your year 1 versus your year 2 plus. And I know there's some relatively mature companies in here, some relatively new companies in here. This does apply to both sides of the house, because at the end of the day, everyone cares about your valuation. whether you're publicly traded, you're taken private by a PE firm, or you're a SaaS company getting some money to get going. If you start thinking about this in terms of your year-over-year impact and your recurring life cycles, if you can get that year one retention rate up, not only does your year two get better, but your year two is larger, and so there's an ongoing impact when you have the ability to get those retention rates up to a higher level. So when we think about customer success at Trustpilot, it's really a team effort. And by team effort, it's new business and customer success working together, even though we're on separate sides of the house in some levels, even though we have a new business number and a retention number. It's really a team effort. So one of the things we did at Trustpilot was we adopted a commission policy for new business called pay on pay. Is anyone familiar with pay on pay? Okay, this is a fun one. I like it a lot. Pay on pay means the new business reps don't get paid until the customer pays Trustpilot. Kind of cool, right? Go ahead and sell all you want. Generate all those bookings. Bookings are great. Revenue matters, right? Revenue is how we actually get paychecks, right? You can't give your landlord your bookings number and ask them to accept that as your rent. It doesn't work. So by putting pay on pay in place, it encourages the new business team to sell to the right customers. But even when they know they're selling to the wrong customer, which they're going to do, and that's fine, we accept that. My target isn't 100% base retention, it's something less because people won't like us. But when they know they had a challenging sale, and when they know they may have pushed the boundaries of what they sold, they want to work with customer success to make sure that customer is set up, to make sure they adopt the product, because ultimately they need that first invoice to be paid, or else they don't get paid. So if you're struggling with this concept of how do you work closely together with new business because you have different commission policies and different rules, think about how you implement potentially a pay on pay aspect. Prior to having pay on pay, just for quick reference, we had about a 15% cancellation rate. So of everything that new business sold, 15% of it never paid. That really wasn't very fun. We've since implemented this policy now, and it's down to like 3 or 4%. So you start getting that place, and there are other things we've done like credit cards and things like that. And the other aspect about Trustpilot is we actually sell kind of a simplified product line. In listening to some of the presentations that I've heard today between the past couple of days between folks like Monster and NTT and SAP, I don't envy any of you in terms of your product complexity. That is just good luck. We have 3 tiers: Light, Pro, Enterprise, and you can buy some add-ons. So what that allows us to do is it really gives us clarity on how we can engage with our customers and how we have to engage with our customers. We understand what they bought, what value they're expecting. So there, for some background on our team, Trustpilot's about 10 years old, but really it's the past 4 years that we've seen the growth in customer success. We have 17,000 accounts who are using our paid services, 100 plus success managers. So it's a large team. And that goes from all the way of the enterprise strategic down to the associate CSMs who run 400 or 500 accounts. And we have 15 implementation managers who handle everything about us. We are a global organization. We run success around the world, which is great. And it allows us to really have a professional customer success organization. Everyone talks about support following the sun. Well, customer success follows the sun. There's never a point when our customers don't have access to someone from our team. And really what's really awesome about this is that when you think about supporting your customers, we all have ideas how we want to support them, but believe it or not, they have ideas about how they want to be supported. It's kind of weird. They think they know what they want. And as a result, this allows us to do this. When you think about global accounts, sure, the account owner might live, your main point of contact might be in Austin, Texas, and you might have success managers in Denver or New York who support that person. But what if they have an office in Melbourne and someone in Melbourne wants to be supported? That's a 14-hour time zone. Unless your CSMs are willing to just work around the clock, which mine do, it's hard. So by having this global footprint, we really leverage that in order to make sure we're providing support to our customers in the manner they want. I think it's something like, Casper would know this the best, but like what is 15 languages we support? Something like that, 15, 16 languages? Yeah. And that's really important because that allows for us to expand cross-border, right? It takes us away from this concept of Oh, I can only talk to English-speaking customers, only French-speaking customers. I can talk to anybody because there's somebody in my organization who can speak their language, literally. All right, so where do we come from? Where do we go? So when I started, we had what I would call account management, or summer camp. It was cute, right? New customers would sign up, they get cupcakes. That's fun. But the reality is that's not how customers actually want to be supported. They want to get value from their investment. So we had account management. They'd be in touch with their customers 60 days before the renewal, and if the customer wasn't going to renew, the prior director of CS would, well, I'll take that account, don't worry. And everyone hit targets every quarter. No one ever exceeded, no one ever missed. And then we got the transitional, right? So we spent a couple of years kind of breaking it down and rebuilding it. And if you're just starting out in customer success and you have an account management team, you need to kind of accept this fact that there's going to be a transition period. We've seen a number of people talk about that in the past 2 days about how you have this plan and you have to go through it. I approach customer success very much like software development. It's agile. We're always figuring out what we're going to do and how we're going to build it better. So we leverage tools. We've been leveraging tools like Totango, like Chartio to give us visibility, right? Totango gives us everything we need to know about what our customers are doing, what their health is like. Chartio, is a tool like Looker, gives us a little more, gives me the visibility from dashboard perspectives, get deeper. And here's kind of the results that we've had, as a result of breaking it down and building it up. We've moved the volume of accounts per CSM higher. We've moved their productivity higher, and we've ultimately reduced our customer retention costs. So we've averaged probably year over year 18% increase in the ACV, the annual contract value, the revenue under management per CSM. And as a result, we've reduced our costs year over year by 13%. And that's a really powerful story to sell. Everyone talks about CAC, customer acquisition costs. How much are you spending to acquire a new customer? That's great from a new business perspective. And when you're a younger company, that's fine. That's why people give startups money, because they're going to dump it into a fire and you're going to burn it to acquire new revenue. Cool. As you start maturing and as your revenue balance starts tilting the other way, as it's done for us over the past several years, where we've gone from a 20% CS, 80% new business, now we're like 80% revenue under management, 20% new business is where our growth is coming from. You really need to keep your customer retention costs, a metric we measure, how much we spend on customer success versus how much revenue do they manage. And that's really been important. The other thing we've done is we've actually ended the renewal conversation. We don't have renewal conversations. The reality is, I think someone said, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail, because you shouldn't be having that conversation. The customer should be excited to renew. They should want to renew. And if you're doing your job as a success manager, that happens. One area I want to particularly call out is our customer marketing. This was a number of sessions that talked about how to communicate with your customers. In our world, customer marketing supports customer success, but lives within marketing. And I think what's really interesting about that is, we've got our demand gen folks, we've got our events folks, we've got our webinar folks, and we've got our customer success folks in the marketing team. So they have the support of this large marketing organization, the budget that marketing gets. I don't know about anyone else who runs raise your hand if you run customer success and have an unlimited budget. Right, raise your hand if your marketing team does, right? So, sorry, Ann. So the point being is they live within that organization because they have the power and the resources, graphic designers, copywriters, things like that. And I had these numbers up earlier, when I thought I was impressed with the fact we sent out 140,000 emails every month around education, engagement, retention, expand. I realized after seeing some of the other presentations, we're falling off our game. They work closely across everything. And again, we leverage the campaign functionality within Totango for this. We run lots of campaigns. We have a field called Do Not Mail. So if you want to avoid, if you've got these strat reps or these people who are very protective about their accounts, we actually set an attribute up, so do not mail. So the CSMs can go in there and say, I don't want you emailing my customers. And we actually also have it set up so that way it expires after 30 days. So have to keep going back in there. So that way, if they're in the middle of a heated conversation or a tough conversation, or we just drop the ball somewhere, whatever we're sending out in mass doesn't go to that customer, but eventually that customer gets back into the flow of being heard from by us, whether it's product updates, offers, proposals, advocacy. So the big thing that I'd like everyone to kind of take away is that, via Totango and their tools, and some of the other things we work with, we can scale, and that's really important to us. Again, looking at some of the other numbers that were presented the past few days, I'm envious and excited when I hear, Monster has 600,000 customers, Zoom has 50,000 customers. These are really impressive numbers. And, my belief is that the only way you can get there is if you can scale. CS doesn't work if you continue, a very linear approach. If every 150 accounts equals one new CSM, that doesn't work. I need to start moving those numbers up to 150, 200, 300, 400, 500 accounts per CSM. And that's what tools like Totango allow you to do, is really automate the tasks, help people understand what they're doing, and things like that. Where are we going? Again, it's truly a cross-functional team. Everyone's rowing in the same direction. We talk about product. There was a session about working with product, but what about accounts receivable, right? They're talking to your customers. In our case, we have a compliance team when people flag reviews that get edited or audited rather. How are they talking to our customers? So working across everyone is really important. And again, we focus on aligning our goals with our customers' goals. Oddly enough, that seems to be the best idea. And then the last part is, like I said, we're constantly redefining it. I know in 2 months, we're not going to be a streaming music service. We're still going to be a reviews platform. How we choose to deliver that onboarding, Andrew's going to figure out. And he'll figure out how we do it better next month. And speaking of that, like one of our metrics is we just stay results focused. So what we consider is important is our activation rate. So it's great. We've sold our product. And again, our pro package is like $7,000. We grind these out. We sell a lot of these. But we need to know that a customer is activated and using our product. If they're not activated, they're not interested. If they're not interested, they're not going to renew. They're not going to find value. All those things happen. So we measure when a customer gets their 10th review and how quickly that happens. That to us is an activated customer. That's when they can start seeing value. They can start putting reviews on their website. Their results in search start becoming better. And so we've had a concerted effort, and we've moved our activation rate up almost 12 points in the past year, which is super important because, again, going back to that part where you think about first year, second year ongoing renewals, if you get more people using your product right away, get them using it faster, they're more likely to see value and thus renew, which is ultimately what kind of matters. And again, results focus, we talk about new business activation. We measure our CSMs on talk time, right? Unlike new business reps who have to make 80 dials a day and do this and do that, and they're talking to people that might not want to talk to them, everyone we're talking to has said, yes, I'd like to work with Trustpilot. It may have been begrudgingly because the sales rep really pushed them hard, but at the end of the day, they said, yes, please. So we measure talk time. If you're not talking on the phone to your customers, that's a problem. If you're spending 15 minutes writing an email that's just going to hit delete, that's a problem. Spend that same 15 minutes talking to your customer. You get so much more value. We measure touch points, Totango touch points. How are the CSMs logging their activity? How do we know what they're working on? We've got a beautiful graph that illustrates, the types of touch points that they're looking at. And so like when I look at that chart today, I should see that there are some September accounts that they're having a problem renewing, and therefore they'll be having a renewal conversation. But what I want to see is that they're talking to December accounts about adoption, right? And I can see that in advance now. If you're logging lots of touch points today for accounts that are up for renewal, hopefully, next year, but theoretically December, January, February, that's, if you're talking upsells, I want to see upsell touch points for accounts that are looking at March, April, May renewals because you're doing a midterm upsell. I don't believe that the only time to upsell a customer is at renewal. You can upsell a customer anytime they're seeing value. And again, these are non-revenue metrics that we can use to measure CS, so it helps us get people focused on the right way to work. And also, in those situations where we're having tough issues, we can deal with that from a performance improvement plan. So looking ahead, like I said, we're going to build on what we've done. So today, I believe we actually have customer success at Trustpilot. I don't know I could have said that 3 years ago when we started working together. I believe we had account management, which is not what we need. What we need to focus on, what we're going to be focusing on in the next 6 to 12 months is expansion. Like I said, the network effect, the viral effect of what we're doing. How do we grow that? And that will in itself help us in terms of looking towards our next double, right? I can't really do it every year anymore. It's getting harder to do, but I can do it every 18 months and I can follow Moore's law. And therefore, so that's what we're focusing on is how do we accelerate what we've got? How do we take our foot off the brake and only use the gas pedal? Just take the brake pedal out of the car. So that's really what we're looking at there. The expected outcomes from this, higher employee satisfaction. When employees are happier, they stick around longer. If we're giving them the tools to build on their customer success efforts and really grow their professional careers, customer success is a profession now. It's not just an afterthought. So, you can have people that can grow up and become better CSMs, leaders of CSM teams, leaders of CSM orgs, et cetera. Outstanding customer satisfaction. As a reviews company, we don't use NPS, we use Trustpilot. So we survey our customers and ask them what they think of us, and it's kind of cool. It gets really meta when you talk about getting reviews of a review platform, right? It's kind of like we call a lot of things Project Inception, because you get these weird places. But our Trustpilot score of Trustpilot is a 4.2. Okay, if you deconstruct the reviews from consumers and companies, our company rating is a 4.7. So we're pretty excited about that. And that is not a juiced number. We are an open platform, we're a transparent platform. Every customer, despite my wishes, gets an invitation to leave a review, no matter what. 1 month after they sign up, 1 month after their renewal, and then other triggers in the point, but everyone gets the invitation to leave a review. So we hear it all. And the fact that we're at a 4.7 when you're inviting 17,000 customers a year to leave a review, I really take a lot of pride in that, and I think my organization takes a lot of pride in that. Greater impact on our product roadmap. So for those of you who may run part of the entire commercial organization, when you're the top performing unit, they actually listen to you. Product likes when their product is used. Do you like it when people use your products? You only want to build stuff that people use, right? So if you had a team of commercial folks who are selling stuff that's used and stuff that isn't, you're probably going to listen to the one that's being used. So if you want to have an impact on your product roadmap, if you deliver the results, if you deliver the product to the field, not from a commercial perspective, but from an adoption perspective, you're going to have people listening to you at a louder voice. So I just encourage you all to think about how else you can leverage the amazing stats and the amazing numbers you're generating. And as a result, we get a lot of collaboration, and we actually start surpassing the company KPIs. So what does this all mean? Let's bring it home, Brian. So like I said, we've been privileged to be loaned $200 million. That's what startups do. We're supposed to either crash and burn or generate a lot of revenue for our investors. And that's kind of like, I view my obligation as a leader of the customer success field and team at Trustpilot to deliver to our investors and our board, but also to our employees, right? In a startup space, we are all participating at some level in the success of the company. So it's really about that, and that's where we get this. We start getting some real interesting stats, but the one that I've been preaching for years, but people are starting to listen to, is that if we can move our retention rate up 10 points, we can double our company's valuation. And when you think about that, at $1 billion valuation going to $2 billion, that's actually real money. That's not like theoretical money, that's real money. And I don't need $1 billion to do that. I need a little dollars, but I can do a lot. And again, this applies to public and private companies, I think. The other key thing is we shift from talking about our operational retention rate to our financial retention rate. So for those of you who don't know the difference, operational is based off of your revenue. Financial is based off your booking. So sales is going to go out there and sell $1 million worth of stuff. Somebody's going to cancel, somebody's not going to pay, something's going to happen. And at the end of the day, you only have $900,000 to actually renew. So everyone talks about, a lot of companies talk about their operational rate because it feels better, because it's off a smaller number. But when your retention rates actually start going up and you're in the 90s, you can actually use your financial one because it still feels good. It feels good to say 95% rate, and that's our financial number. And then finally, the final one is we're able to start simplifying our KPIs. We've spent years with a lot of KPIs, and every year we pare them back. And as long as those final sets of 2 or 3 KPIs are in the right direction, we don't need everything else. Everything else has to be happening. And if we start seeing a decline in some of those KPIs, if our retention rate goes down, we're going to add back in some of the stuff we stopped working at. Again, I'm really excited about the future of customer success. I've been living it, I've been seeing it grow, and I just think it's so valuable. As we all know, we just have to do our job of convincing our leadership teams that it's an important part of our organization. And I think from what I've seen the past couple of days, we're doing that. We just got to do more of it. So with that, I'll open it up to questions if anyone has one. Yeah. Oh, sorry, there's microphones, there's things happening. Everyone's awake at least, that's a good sign.
So how much importance do you give for the high ratings compared to the negative ratings? By that I mean, how much emphasis do you give to go after the high ratings and acquire referenceable customers, testimonials, and things of that sort versus a piece the ones that are not happy?
Yeah, so we respond, again, in our field as a review platform, we respond to every reviewer, good, bad, or otherwise. And we look at them differently. The ones I like to focus on the most are the 3s and the 4s. A 1-star review who's mad at you, it's very expensive to turn that person around. You need to listen to what they're saying. You need to see if there are trends in those 1- and 2-star reviews that you need to fix. The sales rep wasn't clear with me about what I was buying. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to fix that one, right? If I see a lot of those, maybe we need a little more education on our sales floor about what they're selling. The 5s are great. Our marketing departments, our customer marketing team does talk to those people and gets them to do case studies and references and things like that. But if you can turn the 3s and the 4s around and turn them into 5 stars, that's where you have the most opportunity, in my opinion, in terms of actually impacting your customer base. That make sense?
How do you measure CSM productivity?
Accounts under management. I mean, so you have to blend, right, the balance between driving the numbers and driving the person, right? So we absolutely measure how many accounts they have under management and how much revenue they generate. We have a base component to their commission and an upsell component. The premise being is that if you've got one customer who wants to cancel for $5,000 and one customer wants to buy more product for $5,000, every day of the week you're going to take that call for $5,000 more dollars. But if you're measuring them on their base retention, they have to deal with this company that doesn't want to renew. So we separate their commission structure between base and upsell. Accelerators in place if you hit certain sides of each side of the equation. But yeah, from a productivity perspective, it's accounts under management and revenue under management. While we have structured pricing, there are still times when the sales team does a very good job of convincing someone to pay a little bit more. And so therefore the revenue side is on an exact line, so that's why we measure both aspects of that. And then, of course, there are all the other measurements in terms of like talk time, touch points in Totango, the right kind of touch points in the Totango. Just because you logged a touch point and you just put like talk to customer, that's not really a good touch point. That's just a touch point. So it's incumbent on the managers to look at what their team members are actually putting in the system. And like I say, we do, quarterly, every other quarter. How often do we do it, Leah? Once a week? We rebalance our portfolios. Leah loves it when we rebalance our portfolios. It's her favorite activity. But the point being is that, like I said, we're very much a team here. So when you're putting information about your account, keep in mind that account may be moved to someone else. So you need to let them know what's happening because you're going to get someone else's account. So that's why we actually look at the quality of the touch points, not just the volume or kind. Make sense? Good. Cool. Anything else? Nothing from my team? Yeah. Cool. All right then.
Yeah. Thank you, Brian.
Let's do this. Thank you.
That was amazing.
Yeah.